My name is Nickel, Nickel, and these are 10 weird facts about Mario and the Mario universe in general. This video is brought to you by Lootcrate, which is a monthly subscription filled with a bunch of gaming and pop culture gear. Now let's kick this off with number 1. In Super Mario Sunshine, there's a human dressed as a Pianta named Il Pantissimo. Mario can race him in the 5th levels of Gelato Beach and Noki Bay, as well as the 2nd level of Pianta Village. Through hacking the game, you can remove his mask, and once you do that, the face revealed beneath the mask is the same character from both Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. In Ocarina of Time, he's the running man, and in Majora's Mask, he's the mailman. So at least with Ocarina of Time, the running part is consistent. There are a few instances in the Mario series where something that started off as a glitch or a mistake ended up being purposely put into the game. One of those instances was with the Double Mario power-up. Kento Motokura from Nintendo's Entertainment Analysis and Development Division said, "We discovered that when a staff member made a mistake with the placement tool and put in 2-player Marios. So this power-up was actually a result of a mistake by an employee that was kept in." In the late Satoru Iwata's Iwata Ask series, Masakara Takemoto and Daiki Iwamoto of Nintendo's Entertainment Analysis and Development Team, or EAD, were asked about New Super Mario Bros. U. One of the things they mentioned was that the game testers at Nintendo of America couldn't clear some of New Super Mario Bros. U's gold medal challenges. They emailed EAD and said, "We can't clear this." Then they got an email that said, "Can this really be cleared?" The testers at Nintendo of America thought it was a mistake in the game design. This was until Takemoto recorded a video of himself and sent it to Nintendo of America, proving that it can be cleared. The next day they received a reply from Nintendo of America saying, "Sorry, we did it." When Mario Party for the Nintendo 64 was released, some of the minigames required rotating the controller's analog stick, which for some caused blisters, friction burns, and lacerations, because many players use their palm instead of their thumb. Roughly 90 complaints were received by the New York Attorney General's office, and even though no actual lawsuits were filed, Nintendo of America agreed to settle. This meant they would have to pay the state's $75,000 legal fee and provide gloves for anyone who had hurt their hands while playing the game. BBC News estimated that if all 1.2 million owners of the game at the time had requested gloves, it would have cost Nintendo $80 million. Super Hornio Brothers and Super Hornio Brothers 2 were 2 porn films based on the Super Mario Bros. Series. They were released during the same time as the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film. One of the film's lead actors, Ron Jeremy, confirmed a long-believed rumor on his official website. The films did in fact exist, but Nintendo bought the rights to Super Hornio Brothers and Super Hornio Brothers 2 in order to halt distribution indefinitely. SomethingAwful.com's Zach Parsons reviewed Super Hornio Brothers 2 and gave it a -33 rating. He also added that director Buck Adams did a much better adaptation of the Super Mario franchise than the actual Super Mario Bros. Live-action film. Mario Kart Arcade GP is just as it sounds, an arcade version of Mario Kart. This game was published and partially developed by Namco, which is the reason why it's the first game where Mario and Pac-Man meet. Since it was released in 2005, this predates Super Smash Bros. By quite a bit. The strange thing with Mario Kart Arcade GP is that it has very strange JPEG images in the ROM. The first image is of these lines of color stacked on one another. The second one is from Expo 2005, which was the World's Fair in the Aichi Prefecture, Japan. And the final, most bizarre image to be found in the Mario Kart game is an image of the Beslan school hostage crisis. This was a terrorist attack that lasted 3 days. A group of Islamic terrorists had occupied school number 1 in the town of Beslan, North Ossetia in 2004. 1,100 people were taken as hostages, over 700 of which were children, and when it had ended, 385 people had died. So it's quite a strange choice of an image to include in a Mario Kart game. The 3 of these images may have been used during the NamCam player portrait feature testing, but the reason for using these specific images is anyone's guess. Dave Brooks was an early Nintendo employee in America who eventually named the Koopalings. He had previously worked at Tower Records, but after calling the gameplay counselors for help with a Nintendo game, he ended up applying to be a gameplay counselor himself. Gameplay counselors, for those of you that don't know, were the people that you used to be able to call when you were stuck in a Nintendo game. At the time, the criteria to apply was that you had to have beaten Zelda and Metroid. Over time, he had moved up within Nintendo, and since there weren't any localization departments at the time, one of his tasks was improving poorly translated Japanese text. Regarding the Koopalings that were to be in the upcoming Super Mario 3, he said, "The hairstyle on one of them reminded me of Ludwig van Beethoven for some reason, and Ludwig van Koopa was born." Next was the one with the glasses. He has to be Roy Koopa, in homage to Roy Orbison, who almost always wore glasses. Then Wendy O. Koopa, Wendy O. Williams, and Iggy Koopa, Iggy Pop. One looked like a loudmouth, so he was Morton Koopa, from the loudmouth talk show host Morton Downey Jr. And then there was Larry. He just looked like a Larry. And the most famous of the Koopaling namings was Lemmy, based on Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. In the 1985 game Wrecking Crew, a character named Spike was introduced. Spike's role in the game was Mario and Luigi's rival. This was one of the earliest appearances of an anti-Mario character, which would go on to influence later Mario titles. Nintendo Research and Development Team 1 was tasked with creating Super Mario Land 2. They had stated that they had no creative passion for using the character Mario, so they created Wario, which they said was a representation of Research and Development Team 1's situation. Although he didn't star in this game, Wario went on to starring in Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, and the rest is history. But before even the debut of Wario in Super Mario Land 2, there's a character that suspiciously resembles Wario in an episode of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. This episode falls somewhere around the episode 40 mark depending on which listing you're looking at. The character that I'm referring to is probably pretty obvious. It's the one that's two people to the right of Mario. He's short and stocky like Mario, but a bit more rotund and wearing yellow, just like Wario. There's also a character that resembles a Luigi clone in an off-green color between Mario and Wario. And if you want to go one step further and combine the purple of the character to the far right with the Luigi clone, it would be Waluigi. This may just be a big coincidence, or it may also be inspired by the same precursor, Wrecking Crew. But either way, this episode certainly predates Wario's first official appearance in 1992's Super Mario Land 2 by nearly 3 years, since this episode originally aired on November 9th, 1989. If you haven't been actively seeking them out, there are a few lesser known Mario games that you may not have heard of. In 1986, the Japan exclusive sewing simulator titled I Am a Teacher, Super Mario Sweater was released. Players were able to add pictures of Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Bowser to sweaters. The game was released on the Family Computer Disk System, which was an accessory for the Family Computer, or Famicom. There was also a game for DOS called Super Mario Bros. And Friends, When I Grow Up. This was basically just a digital coloring book. The interesting part about it was that Link made an appearance in the game as well. All Night Nippon Super Mario Bros. Was an officially licensed retool of Super Mario Bros. That came out in 1986. The game was given out on the Japanese radio program All Night Nippon, which is also what the game was based on. It's a replica of the original Super Mario Bros., except the sprites of Goombas and other enemies are replaced with Japanese celebrities. There have been many bizarre Mario comics over the years, but here's one that's particularly strange. In the German Club Nintendo magazine, there was a 12-page Mario comic split across 2 issues that were released a year apart. It was called Super Mario in the Night of Horror, and it has a very strange plot. The first one was published in May of 1996, and part 2 didn't come out until May of 1997. In part 1, Mario is eating with Princess Toadstool in their skyscraper with other Nintendo characters. The power goes out, so when they go down to check the fuses, they run into Kirby and Link, who also have apartments in the same skyscraper. They then hear whispering in Wario's room, and since Link is too scared, he asks Mario to check what's going on. When they peek inside, Wario's room is filled with characters from horror films including Leatherface, Chucky, and Jason. Mario sees Wario debating with a demonic creature named Abagor. Abagor here doesn't resemble Abagor the Duke of Hell, but instead resembles Baphomet, whose image you may have seen before since the sigil of Baphomet is the official insignium of the Church of Satan. Abagor wants to take control of the skyscrapers to have room for his diabolical friends, and Wario is fine with the plan because in exchange, Abagor will manipulate Princess Toadstool's brain to ignore Mario and instead fall in love with Wario. Kirby finds a chest labeled Van Helsing, and they equip themselves with weapons inside. They also drink red serum in a test tube and transform into this. Just as Chucky is about to take Diddy and Donkey Kong's apartment, the trio bust in and attack the monsters in their way. When Mario returns to his room, he finds that the princess has become a zombie. Mario goes to get Link and Kirby to help him, but when he returns, the princess is gone, and in place of her is a box that resembles Le Marchand's box from Hellraiser. The three of them search for Peach, but they're pulled one by one into an underground crypt. Mario then finds a book and tries to read a spell from the book, and finds out that it changes them into women's clothes. When Abagor sends monsters after them, Mario reads a Dark Hero horror spell and immediately transforms his friends into angry, powerful dark creatures. The trio use their powers to defeat Abagor, and when they find Peach, she's still a zombie and she says the sentence, "Your mother scrubs toilets in hell." Mario then claims that their love is stronger than the spell and she turns back. Mario uses another spell to go back to the normal world and they appear in the midst of a Musikantenstadel. This is a German live television show that features pop and folk music, and Mario declares finally that it is worse than hell. This has got to be one of the weirdest Mario things that I've ever seen. And that comic was translated by someone named Milo, so I'll leave a link down below. The final fact is that the like button is actually a mushroom. And if you push it, then a random part of your body will get really big. You could suddenly have one really big arm or a giant ear. So if you hit the button and grew because of it, let me know which part of you grew down below in the comments. And now it's Loot Crate time. The theme of this month's Loot Crates is the Versus Crate, and some of the items that will be included will be from Batman vs Superman, Alien vs Predator, Star Trek, and Marvel as well. There will be other items in there that fit the Versus theme of the crate also. One of them will be a t-shirt, and if you want to save yourself 10%, head over to lootcrate.com/onickel and enter the code ONICKEL if you want to save yourself 10%. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and here's a preview of the last video, Weird Facts Dark Souls. If you want to see more, just click the annotation or the I button in the corner of the screen that will link you to other videos on the channel. Two brothers, Michael and David, went to court with a friend, Thomas, over Dark Souls. The case was broadcast across the United Kingdom via ITV, which is a UK TV network. So here's what happened. In a drunken state at the Glastonbury Music Festival, Thomas promised his friend Michael and brother David that he could beat Dark Souls on the hardest difficulty in under a year before the next Glastonbury. He even claimed that it would be very easy. However, when a year had passed and Thomas had yet to beat the game, his friend and brother took him to court on television and sued him for a whopping